Good morning and welcome. We are ready to start the Market Beef Show today at the Washington County Fair. Entering the ring now, we have our heavy feeder class. In this class, we have Emma Alderton, Beckett Kucher, and Hunter Barnes.
Well, good morning, everybody, and great to be back with you in Washington County this morning on a beautiful summer day. And cattle are going to be a little frisky, but we'll all be very comfortable, so look forward to that. Here in your feeder class, kind of goes without saying, perhaps, that all three of these need just a little more time on feed and just a little more maturity to be more comfortable with where they're at as a market beef animal. But with that said, I think the Hereford Barteffer we start with is the closest to that in terms of where she's at from a fatness and market readiness standpoint. She's probably got as much muscularity and shape as anything in this particular class, and balances reasonably well. The black steer is probably going to be a little bigger when it's all said and done. He's a little further behind, maybe just a little shallow flanked, a little narrow down his top, but a big footed, sound moving steer that with some more time on feed will be just fine. Round out the class with the dairy type, a little more extreme in terms of frame, and probably just needs the most time, to be honest. Going to be awfully big when it's all said and done. That's good. But again, just long ways from being there. Young lady's done a nice job getting that steer presented. Give those kids a hand as we get the show started.
The results of our heavy feeder class, we had first with a blue to Beckett Kucher of Riverside Ramblers, second with a blue to Hunter Barnes of the Washington Go-Getters, and third with a blue to Emma Alderton of Washington FFA. Coming into the ring now, we have our first class of returning bucket bottles. In this class, we have Austin Sexton, Annie Troyer, Bristol Kuchar, and Aiden Anderson. Our judge today is Dr. Scott Greiner. Dr. Greiner serves as a professor and extension animal scientist at the School of Animal Sciences at Virginia Tech. A native of Oxford, Iowa, and a proud product of Johnson County 4-H program, Scott's passion for livestock evaluation began right here in Iowa. He attended Iowa State University, majoring in animal science. During his time at Iowa State, he was a member of both the Reserve National Champion Meats Judging Team and the National Champion Livestock Judging Team, where he earned high individual honors at the national contest. He later completed his master's degree at Michigan State University and earned his doctorate from Iowa State University. While pursuing his graduate studies, he coached several highly successful livestock judging teams, including 2 national champion teams at Iowa State. Today, his responsibilities at Virginia Tech include developing and delivering livestock educational programs to both youth and adults, conducting applied research focused on genetics and livestock production systems, teaching upper-level animal science courses, and mentoring graduate students. He and his wife reside near Christiansburg, Virginia. They have raised 2 daughters through the youth livestock program, and their family remains actively involved in 4-H. During his career, he has judged national, state, and local livestock shows.
Well, here in our lightweight class of the returning bucket bottle calves, 4 nice cattle that have some differences for sure. I think it's kind of a top pair between these 2 steers. The steer we start with certainly is the one that we like better in terms of his build and his function and the way he's assembled. Just puts it on a little more complete package in terms of having a little more balance and correctness. He's got an ample amount of shape and muscularity. He's maybe just a little not quite as far along from a finish and market readiness standpoint as the steer we have in second, and that's probably where we change him. But as we be candid about it, all these cattle need just a little more time and weight to fit them into kind of an ideal window, but a nice steer to lead. Like the market readiness, young man's done a good job feeding this steer in second. He handles well, he's market ready, a lot of potential there from a quality standpoint. Unfortunately, he's maybe just got a little too much on him. He's a little wasty up front, but he runs out of gas a little bit as you get behind him, just in terms of muscularity, as he's a little more labored in terms of the way he handles himself from a structure standpoint. Young lady in third's got a real nice steer, but just unfortunately, that calf just is lightweight and gets outmassed in here and just needs more to him in terms of substance. But he probably balances up and has as much correctness as any that we have in the class. We just need a little more of him. Young lady we round out the class with, steer again that's real long-bodied and trim in his makeup, has a little trouble as we put him in motion, just a little too tight. Give those kids a nice hand here as we get this division started.
The results of our first class of returning bucket bottle market steers, we had first with a blue going to Bristol Kuchar of Riverside Ramblers, second with a blue to Aiden Anderson of the Lime Creek Livewires, third with a blue to Austin Sexton of the Horse and Pony Club, and fourth with a blue to Annie Troyer of the Lime Creek Limelights. Coming into the ring now, we have our second class of returning bucket bottle market steers. In this class, we have Logan Hotchkiss, Tessa Bombay, Kaylin Johnson, and Madeline Stump. Hills Bank has generously offered to take photos of exhibitors during each show this week. Photos will be printed and available at their booth at the Commercial Exhibit Building. Make sure to stop and pick up your photos before the fair is over. Thank you to Hills Bank. We also want to say a quick thank you to KCTC for their generous gift to live stream all the shows, the link that's listed in the show program. If you want to go back and see the previous shows, you can do that. They are on the KCTC YouTube channel.
here in our heavyweight class, a nice group of steers, and I think a nice pair here to lead with some discussion between them. The Baldy steer that we're going to start with. To me, he's the beefy one in here. He's the steer when you get your hands on him. That's the biggest in terms of his top. He's got the most product and muscular shape about him. Calf that's big-bodied, growthy, well-finished. The young lady's done a nice job in terms of that regard. Now, he's a little bit plain in terms of his feature. He's not as good in terms of his balance and his lines as the steer that we got in second. He's not as good in his hind leg posture, which I think makes that pair particularly interesting. But I like to use the steer that's got a little more potential composition about him from a muscularity standpoint. Steer in second certainly is more attractive. Young lady does a great job getting him shown, and really good in terms of her showmanship. The steer just needs to be opened up. I read him to be a little too flat relative to his frame size and his weight. Just like to give him a notch more natural shape to make him more competitive with our class winner. The steer in third's a little along the same lines in terms of being nice balanced, real long-bodied, trim, high cut ability steer that just needs more time. He's too green, doesn't have quite enough finish and market readiness, needs another 100 or 200 pounds on him to really be comfortable with him where he's at from a maturity standpoint. And the big heavy steer in the class, it's a little more extreme in terms of framework. Just like to give him a notch more muscle relative to that frame to move him up the line. Give these kids a nice hand for a set of well-fed steers.
The results of our second class of returning bucket bottle steers, we had first with a blue going to Tessa Bombi of the Lime Creek Live Wires, second with a blue to Kaylin Johnson of the Washington Go-Getters, third with a blue to Logan Hotchkiss of Green Acres, and fourth with a blue to Madeline Stumpf of the Riverside Ramblers. We're now going to have our championship drive for the champion reserve champion returning bucket bottle steer. From the first class, we had first being shown by Bristol Kucher, second place being shown by Aiden Anderson. From class 2, we had first place being shown by Tessa Bombi and second place by Kaylin Johnson. The returning bucket bottle market steer award is sponsored in memory of Nancy Adrian, and the reserve champion award is sponsored by Schneider Family Farms.
Well, always a good division to think about as not that long ago, these calves were in here as bucket bottle calves, and to see them come back and mature and what they turn into as projects. Congratulations to these 4 exhibitors for doing an excellent job. You know, I think we're not going to belabor things here too much. I think there's a big difference here between the two classes just in terms of where these cattle are at from an industry window perspective, in terms of weight and market readiness, and you put on top of that, they're the beefier steers that are a little more good, a little better in terms of their balance. We're going to stick the two heavyweights as champion and reserve. Give those two young ladies a big round of applause of congratulations.
Our champion today was shown by Tessa Bombi and our reserve by Kaylin Johnson. Coming into the ring for our returning bucket bottle market heifer, we have Jacob Pasha, Kaylin Eldridge, and Taya Bombi. We would like to recognize and thank Federation Bank for their sponsorship of exhibitor t-shirts for each of our members or exhibitors this year. We also hope that you will join us at 5 o'clock today at the Lions stage for a special Hall of Fame recognition, State Fair Awards, and the Fair Favorite Bucket of Junk auction. Sculptures all started as identical buckets of junk and then were created by area youth, families, and businesses into these sculptures. They are on display in the commercial exhibit building and will be up for auction immediately following the awards today at 5 p.m. All proceeds will go to sponsor Washington County 4-H enrollment fees, which currently make 4-H free for all 461 members and 150 Clover kids.
In your bucket heifer division, again, a lot of difference out here. And I think it really boils down to very fundamental things in terms of which one's market ready, which one has the weight, the stoutness, the product, and just the dimension to win the class. That's the young lady's black heifer that we elect to use as your class winner and your champion here in the heifer division. She's not ideal in terms of her rear hoof. She's not ideal in terms of her front end structure. I'll be the first to admit that, but I think she's light years ahead in terms of compositional correctness and just where she fits the window from an industry perspective. The gray heifer's nice. She's balanced extremely well, extremely good on her feet and legs, maybe has as much balance and symmetry and correctness as any calf that's been in the ring so far this morning. She's just not quite there yet in terms of where she's at weight and stoutness wise relative to that black one. Young man's heifer we round out with, again, well presented, long bodied, just like to give her a notch more substance in terms of her bone work and in terms of her muscularity. Congratulate those heifer exhibitors for a job well done.
The results of our returning bucket bottle market heifer, we had our champion being exhibited by Taya Bombi. And her award was sponsored in memory of Nancy Adrian and a reserve by Kaylin Eldridge, whose award was sponsored by Schneider Family Farms. Coming into the ring now, we have our produce class. In this class, we have Nicholas Peck, Nicholas Pasha, Stella Janacek, Ethan Hotchkiss, Brock Thoman, and Blake Sheets. These are produce of former heifer projects, which have been exhibited at the county fair. We also have several exhibitors that you see in the ring with our gray polos today. And those are signifying our senior graduates through the 4-H program. We have Nicholas Pasha, Stella Janacek, Brock Thoman, and Blake Sheets all wearing gray polos today. And those are sponsored by Whittoff Farm Supply.
All right, everyone. We're handed the mic once again. But hey, everyone. Good morning. My name is Adeline Houston, and I am your 2026 Washington County Fair Queen. We've had a thank you. We've had a great week so far. As our week's kind of starting to dwindle down, we're very grateful for all the love and support we've had this week. And we're really looking forward to helping here at the show today. And thank you guys. I guess I'm the 17-year-old daughter of Michael and Sarah Houston, and I'll be a senior at Mid-Prairie High School in the fall. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Sophia Putman. I'm the daughter of Kirk and Sarah Putman. I'm also going to be a senior at Mid-Prairie in the fall, and I'm the 2026 Washington County Miss Congeniality.
Hi everyone, I'm Gracie Hirschberger, and I am the 15-year-old daughter of Blake and Jenny Hirschberger, and I am the 2026 Washington County Beef Princess, and I will be a sophomore at Mid-Prairie High School this year.
Well, here in your produce class or bread known class, congratulations to all these young people. They're responsible for what you see in the ring in terms of conception to here, and that's a neat deal, and congratulations to them. I think a pair of steers here that have a lot of good to them in terms of ones that are productive in their appearance. They're big-bodied. They're steers that have some muscular shape. They're sound enough in terms of their skeleton. I think a really, really nice pair to lead. And between that pair, I think the fresher, higher cutability steer of that pair is in first. I think he's more appropriate in terms of the way he's constructed from the hock down. He's a little neater in terms of the way he balances. He handles extremely well. I like his top shape. You like his hip shape. You just like the way the pieces fit together, and that steer just very, very complete. Steer in second's very similar to him, maybe a little bigger boned, maybe just a little more width of stifle at times as you watch him travel away. He's a little more labored, though, in terms of his skeletal makeup. He's a little deeper right there through his brisket. We'd like to clean him up just a notch, but again, a very, very good steer that's got a lot of practical things. They're very similar, actually, just a little more balance in the steer in first compared to our steer in second. Big rascal weighing 17 plus. This young man told me he's eating a lot of corn, and I certainly believe that. But for that, he's still a steer that's within bounds in terms of where he's at. From a finish standpoint, he's still lean enough. He's got a lot of beef and a lot of product, and we have to admire that. And certainly from an industry standpoint, where we're at today, he is not out of bounds. We need to correct him in terms of his hind leg. Need to make him go just a little better if we consider him ideal. But it's his extra product, his extra market readiness compared to the trio we wound up the class with that get him in third pretty logically. Nice balanced, attractive steer here that comes in fourth. Just needs more time on feed and more finish. The red steer coming out balances nice from the side. He's smooth-shouldered. He's long-bodied. He's well-presented. He's just awfully lightweight. Steer we round up with a lot the same. The man's done a good job. He just needs more time on feed. Give those produce dam exhibitors a nice hand for a good set of steers.
Our champion produce market steer was shown by Ethan Hotchkiss, whose award was sponsored by Federation Bank and a cash award from Peck Trucking. Our reserve champion was shown by Brock Thoman, whose award was sponsored by Schneider Family Farms. Coming into the ring now, we have our first class of market heifers. In the ring, we have Austin Sexton, Adrian Blavelt, Sarah Burdo, Cohen Giro, and James Montz. The results of our produce class, we had first with a purple going to Ethan Hotchkiss of Green Acres, second with a purple going to Brock Thoman of the Highlanders, third with a blue to Blake Sheets of the Washington Go-Getters, fourth with a blue to Stella Janicek of the Horse and Pony Club, fifth with a blue to Nicholas Peck of the Lime Creek Livewires, and sixth with a blue going to Nicholas Pasha of the Washington Hustlers. You'll notice we also do have a gray polo in the ring. We have Adrian Blavelt, who is one of our 2026 grads. Congratulations.
Good group of market heifers here in your lightweight class, and I think a high quality one to lead off with. She's certainly one that hits you pretty strong in terms of the way she's assembled, and her balance and attractiveness and symmetry is excellent. But more importantly, you study her as a market animal. You put your hands on her in terms of where she's at from a finish standpoint, a freshness standpoint. She's really good there. Got an ample amount of shape and muscularity. You know, she's not perfect. You'd fix her in her rear feet just a little bit. In the grand scheme of the big world, she could be a little bigger in her kind and just a little bulkier and more massive. But that's not to take away from one there that wins our class. That's pretty darn good in terms of a quality individual. A lot of positive things about the young man's heifer in second. On the standstill, she's probably as shapely, as terminal in terms of her touch and her top shape. The amount of dimension she's got behind as any calf out here. She's just a little more upright in terms of her rear ankle. She's a little tighter in terms of her skeleton. Doesn't have the balance and softness of body that the heifer we start with. But from a market heifer standpoint, she does the fundamentals very well from a composition standpoint. The Baldy heifer is really long-bodied. Again, one that's grown well and has a finish advantage compared to the two heifers that stand behind her. The black heifer here in fourth, big-bodied, uniform in her body depth, needs a shot more muscle expression. The white-bellied heifer we round up with, very sound in her skeleton and structure, really long-bodied, a very attractive and high cutability individual, needs a little more weight, needs just a little more width in her skeleton to move her up. Give those kids a nice hand as we get the market heifer show started.
The results of our first class of market heifers, we had first with a purple going to Conan Giro of Riverside Ramblers, second with a blue going to James Montz of the Washington Hustlers, third with a blue going to Sarah Burdo of Franklin Cubs, fourth with a blue to Adrian Blavelt of the Lime Creek Limelights, fifth with a blue to Austin Sexton of the Horse and Pony Club. Coming into the ring now, we have Class 2 of market heifers. We have Brock Thoman, Cale Schneider, Layson Montz, Lane Schott, Avery Janicek, and Jake Burdo. We will recognize Brock Thoman as being one of our 2026 graduates.
Well, a really nice pair of market heifers here in your heavy class, and both of them got a lot of quality, a lot of good to them, and yet they're quite different in terms of the way they're built, in terms of the things they bring to the table. Share with you how I see them. The young man's red heifer there, ultra fresh, ultra good in terms of her handle, her touch, or where she's at from a degree of finish and market readiness standpoint is spot on as far as I'm concerned. She's got a little extra cutability about her compared to the heifer that we got in second. I think she's just a little more attractive in terms of the way she's constructed, particularly in her profile as you study her in terms of the way she's constructed through her front third, just the way the pieces blend together, really nicely presented, ultra fresh in terms of the way she handles. I think she's adequate from a skeletal standpoint. Neither one of them are perfect in terms of their hind leg, and we fix them both ever so slightly. But I think what makes it close is this yellow baldy heifer. She is really stout, and I like that about her. She is stout at the ground. She's opened up in terms of her loin and behind her shoulder. No question she's got a muscle advantage to the heifer that we start with. I'm very comfortable in saying that, and she's very good in terms of where she's at from a finish standpoint as well. When we get her cocked off and we get her head up and she looks good on the profile, that pair is extremely tight. When she gets a little lazy and she gets her head down, she wants to run downhill, she wants to get a little bit plain, a little bit rounder in terms of the way she's made. But again, tremendously good individual. They're dramatically different in terms of what they are, but they're both extremely good. The white-bellied heifer that comes in third, again, can stand some competition here because she's really solid. Well finished, balanced, correct in terms of her skeleton. She needs a shot more dimension when you get right behind her in terms of her hip. With a stifle and back through a twist, she doesn't compete with the two that we previously talked about. The heavier weight heifer that comes in fourth, I think she's got every bit as much product and muscular shape and dimension about her as anything in the class. Unfortunately, she's just a little tighter in terms of the way she's made in her skeleton and just doesn't balance quite as well as those that we've talked about. Nothing wrong with the muscular shape of the young man's market effort coming next. She's big top, she's big from behind. A lot of potential there in terms of cutability. She's a little high flanked, and she too we'd redesign just a little bit in terms of the way she's constructed. Big baldy heifer we round off with. Got a lot of product, a lot of weight. She's certainly market ready relative to her weight, relative to her frame size and maturity, maybe just a little flatter from an overall muscle standpoint. Give those kids a nice hand, very competitive class.
The results of our second class of market heifers, we had first being with a purple being exhibited by Brock Thoman of the Highlanders, second with a purple going to Lane Schott of the Riverside Ramblers, third with a blue to Cale Schneider of Franklin Cubs, fourth with a blue to Avery Janicek of Dutch Creek Flyers, fifth with a blue to Layson Montz of the Washington Hustlers, and sixth with a blue to Jake Burdo of Franklin Cubs. We're now going to have our championship drive to select the champion reserve champion market heifer. From class 1, our first place is being exhibited by Cohen Giro of Riverside Ramblers, and our second place by James Montz of the Washington Hustlers. From class 2, we have first place being exhibited by Brock Thoman and second place by Lane Schott. The award for the champion market heifer today is sponsored by the Libe family, Libations on Iowa, and our reserve champion will receive recognition sponsored by Tim and Bev Colbert.
A really nice group of market heifers, and I thought four awfully nice ones. That lightweight class, that heifer that we used to win that class, I think's got tremendous quality. She is very nice in terms of her shapeliness behind her shoulder. She's big top. She's wide enough in terms of her pin set. And you get her on the standstill, you love her three-quarter view in terms of being open-chested, big in her forerib, and yet blended together very nicely. Is she as heavyweight? Is she as massive as the two heavyweights? Probably not, but I think from a muscularity standpoint and a rib shape standpoint and natural width of skeleton, she's stouter than our heavy class winner. She's more balanced and attractive than our second-place heavyweight. The question is there enough of her? Is she big and stout and burly enough as we evaluate them today? That's the question we got to answer. Nice pair of heavyweights we just talked about. Again, give and take, a little more look and balance and freshness here, a little more stoutness and muscle in our yellow heifer, but two extremely nice ones. I guess when we get right down to it, I try and use the best one. The best one to me is the lightweight. He'll have your champion. Give them a nice hand.
Our champion market heifer is exhibited by Cohen Giro and our reserve champion by Brock Thoman. We're now going to move into our breed divisions. Coming into the ring now, we have our class of Angus steers. We have Nicholas Pack, Tate Sheets, Cameron Long, Preston Ford, and Tate Stumpf.
Well, here in your Angus division, I think a very logical place to start. Certainly, steer weighing in the 15, so kind of fits what we're looking for. A steer that's balanced and correct, but more importantly, a steer that's well fed and has some muscular shape. He's not the most massive one that we've used just in terms of muscle dimension and shape, but I think he's adequate, puts it together in a really attractive package from a skeleton standpoint. We appreciate his cutability relative to the steer that stands behind him. Steer behind him's 1,700 pounds, and there's lots of beef there, and yet I think still maintains some correctness and composition, although he's getting a little bit on the borderline in terms of where he's at from a finish standpoint. Most of all, the big steer, we just need to make him more correct relative to our class winner, but we appreciate the beef that he's got, his mass and substance. Young man's done a great job getting him fed. Steer in third, I thought the decision here was 2 and 3, and we just got more mass and more product in our steer in second. We got a little more balance in our steer in third, a little more cutability, a little more trimness, if you will, as you study his lower third of his body and you put your hands on him, but gives up an awful lot of substance. I still appreciate him, though. He's considerably heavier, considerably wider skeleton and stouter than the pair we round off with. Pair of steers on this end that are both well presented, steers that have some length of body and correctness. They just need more time, need more weight and maturity compared to our top end. Let's congratulate our Angus exhibitors for a job well done.
The results of our Angus class of steers, we had our champion being shown by Preston Ford of the Lime Creek Live Wires, also receiving a purple. This award was sponsored by Doug Colbert. Second place with a blue going to Tate Stumpf of Riverside Ramblers. His award was sponsored by Schneider Family Farms. Third place with a blue going to Cameron Long of the 76 Progressives. Fourth place with a blue to Tate Sheets of the Washington Go Getters. And fifth place with a blue going to Nicholas Peck of the Lime Creek Live Wires. Coming into the ring now, we have our Charlet class. We have Riker Giro, Brock Thoman, and Greenlee Giro. And once again, Brock is one of our 2026 graduating 4-H seniors. Do want to remind you that many hands make light work to pack up and put away the fair as we're getting down towards the end. Fair cleanup will begin at 8:30 on Saturday morning. You can sign in at the extension office that morning to find a job. All help is greatly appreciated. We also want to say thank you to Hammis Brothers Sawmill of Ollie for donating the wood chips for the cattle barn.
Got a little spirit with our Charlet division this morning. Young people have worked hard and kept in controlled, and appreciate that. I think a really nice steer to lead with. This guy's practical, and when he behaves and just cooperates, I think a steer that puts a lot of good things together in terms of body shape, in terms of muscularity, in terms of touch and finish, and yet he's sound enough skeletally. You know, he's not the most attractive in terms of his flank line and his rear leg set, but we talk about the things that are important in market steers that are massive, big-bodied, shapely, fresh, sound, good looking, and that steer's got all those things to a degree. Congratulations to her. Steer that's second to him is most like him in the class. Not as much body volume, not as much stoutness, not as much handling quality from a finish standpoint, but a steer that's quite a bit further along from a finish standpoint than our steer in third as we evaluate him. Very attractive, high quality steer that's very well presented here in third. Young man's done a nice job. He just needs a couple of 100 more pounds at least before he's kind of ready, and we're comfortable with him as a market ready steer in today's show. So his better days are ahead of him, but he's put together right, has the right kind of look, has the right kind of presence, just needs more time. Congratulate our Charlet exhibitors, please.
The results of our Charlet class, we had first with a purple going to Greenlee Giro of Riverside Ramblers, second with a blue to Brock Thoman of the Highlanders, and third with a blue to Riker Giro of the Riverside Ramblers. The Champion Award was sponsored by Federation Bank, and the Reserve Champion by Schneider Family Farms. Coming into the ring next, we have our Kiania class. We have Kata Greiner, Parker Shala, and Hunter Siebel. A reminder that some of the animals from today's show will be sold at the livestock auction on Friday. Anyone from the community is welcome to come and purchase. The auction will start at 8:30.
Just a trio here in your key division, and a nice red steer to start with. Again, as we talk about those fundamental things in terms of being big-bodied steers that are got some mass and substance, he does that very, very well. Get him on the sand still. You like his proportionality and you like his balance. Gives you a really stout, rugged look with plenty of power about him. Where would we change him? We'd make him go just a little more comfortably, a little more aggressive and athletic. When we put him in motion, he's probably teetering on having every bit as much condition as I'd like. I'd like to freshen him up just a little bit in that regard. Firm him up, maybe is a better word. Clean him up right there in his brisket, and when you put your hands on him, a little more extreme steer that comes in second, but a nice calf in his own right. You like his length of spine. You like this one's trimness. You like his cut ability for sure. That steer's got some muscle proportional to his frame size and his weight. He wants to taper a little bit and get him a touch narrow underneath. Like to open him up and just stouten him up and give him more mass. But again, very well balanced, very attractive, very fresh handling steer, and I appreciate those things. The white steer we round up with just kind of gets out horsed in here. Needs a little more time on feed and a little more weight, but young lady's done a nice job presenting him. Congratulations to her. Let's give our key exhibitors a nice hand for their hard work.
The results of our Kiania class, we had our champion being exhibited by Parker Shalla, whose award was sponsored by Rick and Judy Giro and received a purple. second place in that class, also receiving a purple, goes to Hunter Siebel. His award was sponsored by Schneider Family Farms. And third place with a blue in that class to Kata Greiner of Dutch Creek Flyers. Coming into the ring now, we have our main Anjou class with Nicholas Peck, Lila Greiner, we have Aubin Sweeting, Aspen Siren, and Riker Giro.
Well, here in your main class, I think pretty quick class winner for sure in terms of one that puts together that extra dimension and power and product. He does this extremely well. He handles good in terms of his market readiness. He's a calf that's attractive and balanced when we get him on the standstill, proportional in his lines. Now, he's not perfect, and be a little critical in terms of the way he moves behind, gets outside of himself. He needs to be better in his hind leg posture. More importantly, needs to be more accurate and true and comfortable in terms of the way he gets out and moves. But in this particular class, I think we need to accept that because of all the other positive things he's got as a market steer. I thought the decision in the class was between 2 and 3. Dramatically different kind of cattle. Young man steer we use in second. Tremendous carcass potential. He's big and shapely in his top. He's massive from behind, a lot of muscle in that calf, a lot of product in him. He could be softer bodied, he could be softer flanked. He too could move a little better behind. And so we got the steer, the Baldy steer right behind him, who's extremely deep sided, really good in terms of his rib shape, really good in terms of his feet and legs and his flexibility and doability. Good gain and steer that's got a lot to him just in terms of performance and soundness. Unfortunately, he's the flattest one out here just in terms of muscularity, and we need to stouten him up. So in a lot of ways, if we could tie together the second and third place steer, we'd have kind of an ideal one, but I elect to use the steer that's got just a little more compositional correctness versus this really good doing productive kind of steer in third. Nice pair that we lead off or round out the class with. Pair of steers, as we've talked before, young people have done a good job. Steers that are a little lighter weight. The young lady steer coming here in fourth, just quite a bit further along from a finish standpoint than the steer we round out the class with, who just needs more maturity and time on feed. Congratulations to our main exhibitors. Job well done.
The results of our main class, we had first going to Riker Giro of Riverside Ramblers with a purple, second to Aben Sweeting of Riverside Ramblers with a blue, third with a blue to Aspen Siren of Kyoto FFA, fourth with a blue to Lila Greiner of Dutch Creek Flyers, fifth with a blue to Nicholas Peck of the Lime Creek Livewires. The Champion Award was sponsored by Federation Bank and the Reserve Champion by Schneider Family Farms. Coming into the ring now, we have our Red Angus class. We have Gatlin Ferrier, Tate Sheets, and Clayton Bartholomew.
set of practical, well-fed Red Angus steers here in this division, and I think some discussion here between our first and second. I think at the end of the day, the steer we got in first is the more compositionally right one in terms of steer that's a touch leaner when you get your hands on him. He's a little better over his forerib and flank, got just a little more freedom of fat, yet he's got plenty on him from a market readiness standpoint. He's also the steer that's got a little more shapeliness, not quite as round as you study his top shape and you get him behind him, balances reasonably well. Just a good practical kind of a market steer. Young man steer in second, approaching 1,700, done extremely well for that kind of weight. He's still kind of acceptable where he's at, although we'd clean him up some in his chest. We'd make him just a notch firmer when you put your hands on him, but a big, beefy, sound steer that's got a lot of body and dimension and performance, and his average daily gain kind of tells you the same thing. Steer we got in third, while he's steer weighing in the 1250 range, so he's certainly not little, but in this class gets outmassed just from a product and muscularity standpoint, but a really long-bodied, sound-moving one. Give those kids a nice hand here for bringing those Red Angus steers out.
The results of our Red Angus, we had first with a blue going to Tate Sheets of Washington Go-Getters, second with a blue to Clayton Bartholomew of Franklin Cubs, third with a blue to Gatlin Ferrier of the Franklin Cubs. The champion award was sponsored by Greg and Heather Cook family and the reserve by Schneider Family Farms. Coming into the ring now, we have our shorthorn class. We have Brooklyn Schneider, Tyler Leftinsky, and Kennedy Long. I'm sorry, Tyler Lukowski. We do want to recognize Preston Ford of the Lime Creek Livewires and Nicholas Peck of the Lime Creek Livewires for receiving the Beef Project Awards at the 2025 Awards Night. They all excelled in personal
I think, a highly competitive shorthorn class here. And while all three of these steers are quite different in weight, they're different in type and kind, I think they're close, and lots of things to describe. The young lady steer we start with, we'll give up some weight, we'll give up some dimension to use her in first, because I think she's the best combination of body shape, natural with the skeleton, some balance and look, with some freshness and muscular shape. That steer is by far the best through his upper hip and his width of stifle relative to his weight and relative to his frame size. He's being a kind of a rascal for her to show as he gets his head up, and we get him on the side view and we get the head elevated. That steer comes together pretty nicely. We put him in motion. He wants to drop his head and be a little too upright in his shoulder and just a little more labored than ideal from a motion standpoint. But still a nice calf, I think, that represents a lot of positive things. The big heavyweight steer, this young lady's done a very good job showing this calf. She gathers him up really nice on the side profile. That steer's extremely long-bodied. For that kind of weight, he's still got a lot of cutability. I just like to mass him up relative to a 1,600-pound steer, just make him more give him a notch more width at his pins, a notch more width underneath as you watch him come and go. Certainly change him a bit up front in terms of his shoulder structure if we're going to be ideal about him. But again, a well-fed steer that's got a lot to him. We appreciate that. Carcass potential-wise, the solid red steer, there's nothing wrong with him. That steer's well-fed. He's shapely up high. He's got a lot of muscularity about him. Unfortunately, he's a steer that wants to be just a little rounder in his hip, a little off in terms of his hind leg set. His flank line doesn't quite proportion as well as the other two. So tremendous composition. Just like to balance him up a bit. Congratulate our shorthorn exhibitors, if you would, please.
The results of our shorthorn class, we had first with a blue going to Brooklyn Schneider of the Franklin Cubs, second with a blue to Kennedy Long of the 76 Progressives, third with a blue to Tyler Lukowski of the Washington Go-Getters. The awards for shorthorn were sponsored by John and Linda Colbert and Schneider Family Farms. Coming into the ring now, we have our Simmental class. In this class, we have Avery Janacek, Tucker Janacek, Hunter Siebel, Madeline Siren, and Cooper Strand.
Well, an interesting class of Scimitals here to sort through, and I think a little bit challenging. I think it's a top pair, in my opinion, between the two steers we got in first and second. They're the two steers that I think put together the most positive things. Biggest differences between them, a young man steer we lead with is Stouter. That steer proportionally is more opened up behind his shoulder and over his loin. He's bigger through his upper hip. He's got more power and more dimension from a muscularity standpoint. Is he as nice balanced? Is he as attractive? Is he as good on his feet and legs as the steer in second? All those things is no, but I think he's adequate in that regard, and compositionally I think is a steer that probably is as good as any. The steer you'd really gravitate to from this view is the Baldy steer in second, because he got a little extra depth of flank. He's a little more proportional in his underline. He's a steer that's good on his feet and legs. That steer just needs more muscle. He needs more shape. He needs more expression. Needs more power for me to be comfortable enough for him to win the class. But I like everything else about him in terms of the way he's put together, in terms of the way he's finished, and just a nice steer from that regard. The steer that comes in there third is more shapely, more expressive through his quarter and twist. Unfortunately, a steer that's just a little stale. If we freshen him up and give him just a little better look, a steer that we might move up a notch or two, because I think he's got a little extra muscle compared to the pair that we talked about. But he's a little high-flanked, he's a little tight in his pastern, he's a little round, and he's a little stale when you get your hands on him. Big steer that's got lots to him that comes in there fourth. I appreciate that from a product standpoint. Relative to that frame and weight, not quite as muscular, a little off in terms of his hind leg set. Young lady's done a nice job with our steer we round out the class with. That's just a little bit green and just needs more time and maturity. Congratulations to our Scimital exhibitors.
The results of our Scimitar class, we had first with a blue going to Tucker Janicek of Dutch Creek Flyers, second with a blue to Madeline Siren of Mid-Prairie FFA, third with a blue to Hunter Siebel of Riverside Ramblers, fourth with